to Make Good Things Happen. I am Angela Dalton, and joining me, as always, is the delightful Renee Baker. Today, we are chatting with Becca of Mustard Made about all things business. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we meet and work on today, and we all pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Mustard Made, sisters Becca and Jess lives in London, both started Mustard Made in Newcastle in Australia in the year 2017. So it's still a very new business. From a spark of love for lockers to the multi-million-dollar international business they are today, Mustard Made's success hinges on their high-quality product, servicing a need for colourful storage in a variety of practical sizes, creating fun and interactive experiences by adding products like magnetic words and even googly eyes to decorate and personalise your lockers with. Mustard Made are on a wild ride. Becca and Jess believe in supporting women, makers and working mums, with a portion of their sales in the UK supporting organisations that assist the homeless. We think these amazing women are onto something. So welcome, Becca. How are you today?
I am beaming after that intro. Thank you very much. That was lovely. Doing really well. Thank you.
Excellent.
Good to hear. Well, first things first, we originally knew you as the designer behind House of Bec, with a debut stall at the Finders Keepers Market many years ago back in Brisbane. So tell us, how did you go from House of Bec to Mustard Made?
It's always so nice when there are people that have been along with me on that journey for all those years. House of Bec was very much handmade, so every single product was literally hammered, polished and finished, and the tags were tied on by me. And I really loved a lot of things about that business, but it kind of got to the point where I was like limited by making everything, and I knew that if I stopped making everything, I would lose that very spark that I loved so much. So it kind of came to this like crossroads where either I scaled it and lost the essence, or I kept going and basically gave myself RSI and hammered metal for the rest of my life. So after having a baby, I kind of committed to myself to giving myself a year just to step back and think. It was my second child, and with my first, I had gone straight back to university. So I never really had that kind of maternity leave as such. So this time I was like, no, I'm going to really take it easy, enjoy this year, just see what comes. And within a month, I already was on the next journey and had this idea with my sister to start Mustard. So I never really got that year off, but I certainly gained something else. So yeah, I think it was the idea of being able to take all that experience that I had, the things that I loved about business, which actually turned out not to be the making, which was a bit of a surprise to me, that my passion actually wasn't in the making. It was coming up with the ideas, it was the relationships, it was the marketing, the branding, the like, how do you take something that anyone could make really, but make it that extra kind of special magic that they come to you for. And it turned out that was kind of really the thing I loved most. And I took that and kind of formulated Mustard based on those lessons, I suppose.
That's amazing. It's actually a really great lesson to learn as well. Like, we see a lot of people not necessarily recognizing that there is creativity in business, that managing a business requires constant creativity, the problem solving and the ideas, the marketing, all of that sort of stuff is actually very creative. And one of the things that I love about your website in particular is your incredibly well-designed about page. How did that come about? Did you work with a graphic designer? Did you design that yourself? Was that a web designer thing? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time we had it written as a story. It was kind of the story of when Mustard started, and that story kept needing new chapters. So it was like, how do we take that story and I guess illustrate it and make it a little bit more beautiful as opposed to just a written text. So we worked with Sophie, who's our kind of in-house graphic designer. She kind of came up with the icons, and just basically, together we kind of mapped out how that journey could look. And I think it's that nice idea of saying, we're on this journey, like, come with us. It's not just an about me full stop, because that about is always changing. We're always writing the next chapter. So yeah, I guess it was that storytelling element that I liked with the flow through the page. And we've got a few more chapters to add soon, I think.
Of course. And I love that, the idea of it not being a full stop, that this is an evolving thing. And that's what's so wonderful about being so transparent about the type of business that you run.
And I think people kind of come along at a point, and they don't necessarily, they haven't been there from the start. Not everybody has, of course. So it's a nice way to kind of say, like, you might think some ideas about us, but it hasn't always been that. There was a time where it was just Jess and I, or, we had 2 products, and now look where we are. So, it's that kind of bringing people along for the ride.
So good. It's so good. Well, speaking about coming along for the ride, tell us a little bit about your product development process. So I know that you launched Mustard Made at a trade fair, but there would have been, I guess, a lot of behind the scenes to get you to that point. So yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about that production process and how you manufactured the lockers.
So Jess, who is my sister and business partner, she had a background in fashion buying. So she kind of had a lot of confidence in terms of approaching factories, working with them. And that was, kind of something that she'd been doing for 10 years. So I was more kind of coming up with the ideas, putting them to her. And then between us, we were kind of literally just Googling stuff was how we started. Like, just Google. I mean, you have to start somewhere. And then I think from there, I taught myself how to really badly draw things in 3D on SketchUp on a 2-week trial, just enough so that I had like something to show the factory. So it was pretty basic. And then it was about finding the right partners. And once we had the factories and we started talking to them, it was kind of working out like what's possible. So once we know what's possible, then we can design within those constraints and just test things out, sample things. And then really importantly, we went over to our factory in China. We actually kind of went there to decide which factory, and it became very clear that we saw large ones, we saw really small ones, and it was that kind of mid-sized family-run factory that we ended up going with, and we're still with them all these years later. So I think that for us was really crucial, especially given the size of our products. It's quite hard to send samples backwards and forwards endlessly. So just going there and saying, today we're going to try and make this, and the team would put it together. We would, critique it all together. And I honestly love that whole process. And I've dearly missed going to visit them through COVID. So hopefully, we'll be back to that soon.
Soon. Yes. Soon. Speaking of soon and travel, your sister Jess is obviously a key partner in the whole Mustard project. Both Renee and I are sisters. I have a sister. Renee has a brother. And we understand sibling relationships are not always amazing and smooth.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I would really, really like to know what it's like working with your sister, like the real nuts and bolts of it, because I know some siblings have almost a sort of a symbiotic relationship because there's so much that you already know about each other, but others not so much. So tell us what it's like working with Jess.
We always say that one of the reasons it works so well is because we live on opposite sides of the world. So I think that's a little clue. Like we do know each other really well. Throughout our lives, we also had So throughout our teenage years, we didn't live together. She lived with our dad and I lived with our mum. So it was kind of, you know, a time in those years after, in our early 20s, when we just really missed each other. I lived here, she lived there, and we just wanted to hang out more. So yeah, we kind of joke that that's why we started Mustard, and definitely, like, it's a bit more than a joke. It's very much true. I think the key to it working for us anyway is that we have quite separate roles, and we have different skills and abilities and interests, and that kind of division happened really so naturally. Like, I would be off on a tangent about, you know, marketing and how, you know, the colors and the design and, you know, collaborations, and she was like, that is not what I need to think about. I need to think about when that shipment is leaving and when it's going to arrive and how long it's going to take to unpack it. And that kind of division just felt, we very rarely tread on each other's toes, I would say. I think there's definitely, there's often I think having a business, there's a loneliness to it, right? Like, you have to make all these decisions, and when you have a team and they're all kind of looking to you. And so I think having that person that I can be vulnerable with, I can really share, you know, when I'm just feeling like, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this, or, you know, I really messed this thing up, and you can just be honest with your sisters. So,
no, that's right. It's kind of like a safety net, isn't it, for vulnerability? When they have to love you, right?
I mean, there has been the odd occasion where we have to, like, get our dad involved, who we often we have board meetings with him sometimes. And it's kind of like when we get to a bit of a standstill, and we'll be like, okay, Dad, we need you to, like, step in and negotiate. So that helps. Some things you just don't grow out of, I think.
Well, it's a true family business then. I love that. Yeah. Absolutely. I think Angela and I.
So our partners also work with us now.
Oh, so it's true family business. Everyone in the family.
All four of us.
That's great.
Wow. Yeah. No, Angela and I sometimes joke that we've kept our business alive so that we can maintain our friendship over borders, interstate borders and things like that. But no, I think we also have a friendship outside of our business as well. So I think we both understand the importance of having that vulnerability and safety with your partner, your business partner. So that's really special that you have that. So I can see behind you just a little sneak peek of some of your lockers, and we will, of course, share more images of them as well in various places accompanying this video. But tell us a little bit more about how you decide what colours to pick, because I know that's definitely one of the unique selling points of your products, is all those incredible array of colours. But yeah, how do you narrow it down?
A lot of fun. I think first of all, we kind of started where we wanted to hit some really on-trend colors, and at the time that was really the blush, the mustard, and the olive. That kind of trio it just felt like it was just popping up everywhere. And then we added the slate and the white as our kind of neutrals, which actually almost didn't happen, and we're very glad that it did. We just thought maybe it's a bit too boring, but it turns out that a lot of people do like white and slate, so that worked out well. And then from there, it was kind of just adding into that, seeing it as a family, you know, what's missing in that rainbow, as well as picking up on trends. So lilac, we just kind of saw that emerging, and probably if you'd asked me when we launched, would we have a lilac locker? Probably would have, like, suspected no. But it's actually become a really popular color. And then the other one, which is just here, is the sage green, which has now become our best-selling color.
Really?
So kind of looking. It was a bit of a surprise, but it's just so. I think it just works so well in so many spaces, and it's kind of a touch of color, but it's not too bold. It's and I'd say it's even more beautiful in real life, that one especially. So I think it's kind of, we've chosen not to take products out of our range so far to date. We've only ever added to our range. So that you know, in some ways is amazing, but it also is that sort of limitation that everything still has to be cohesive and it has to still feel like a collection. So yeah, it's kind of taking in the bigger picture, I suppose, of where we want to go.
Yeah, that's I love that, because they all do complement each other. So, you know, it's clear how meticulously you have chosen, you know, those specific colors, because I guess it's also a massive undertaking. You know, once you've decided on it, you're, you know, committing to a minimum product order, and you
locked
know,
in.
locked in. But you know, like there's a lot of logistics, and you touched on this earlier when you're talking about the roles that, you know, you have, and the things that your sister does, and I'm sure you have a team of people supporting you in various locations around the world. As a fan of checklists, which I noticed by having a look through your website, how important is it to Mustard Made that there is a sense of organization, particularly when you've got people, you know, working in different time zones? How does that work for you in terms of a management, you know, perspective?
I think on a really personal level, that's been a big challenge for me. You know, we touched on House of Bec, and with House of Bec, it was really just me most of the time. I had a few people here and there, but it was all me. And I think it's been a bit of an evolutionary journey to have this team and to have people, you know, that you do have to be organized for. You can't just expect people to read your mind, or, you know, if you haven't communicated clearly, then it causes issues. So I think, yeah, that's been actually, I'm not ashamed to admit, my own personal journey is how to scale a business beyond just yourself or maybe the two of us. And I feel like we're doing really well with that. And really the key for us is having everything on the cloud. Like, we use Trello, we use Google Drive, we use Canva for a lot of things, even though it has its limitations, but it just means that it's so easily accessible by anyone at any time. Dropbox, like, it's, yeah, we've banned Excel, you know, we've banned anything that isn't on the cloud now. So it's very much making sure that everything is accessible to anyone at any time of day, and kind of learning to communicate really clearly with the team and with each other. Yeah. I mean, we sell products that help you organize your home, and a big reason for that is because my home is always really messy, and I have 3 kids, and that was kind of what I needed in my life. So I feel like I've sort of created this challenge for myself and learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, that's great.
I also banned Excel between Angela and I. When we first met, Angela was a bit of an Office fan, and I just couldn't handle it.
I come from a Microsoft background, but I am absolutely converted in the last, I would say, 15 years. I've converted a full Mac front to back now. I wouldn't go backwards into anything.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just kind of looking at all our systems continuously, you know, how as we kind of onboard more and more staff. So we've had 3 staff starting in the last couple of weeks here, and another 3 in the UK. So, like, what are the templates? What are the procedures? What are the checklists? We have so many checklists on Trello where, you know, maybe it's like bringing in a new container into our warehouse, and we go through this process each time and check it off. So yeah, definitely you picked up on the right thing with the checklist there.
Yeah, and of course, you know, you've got a reputation of having a high quality product, so you don't want new people to, you know, you want them to be empowered to provide the same level of quality that you do. And of course, you know, checklists and procedures and all those sorts of things are really the best way to be certain of that level of quality. And you know, as much as some creative people are a bit averse on that organization side, I think embracing it just provides that ability to scale that you've been talking about as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are areas in the business where we definitely don't have rules and we don't have checklists, but if it's something that we're going to repeat and do again, I always say to Jess, if we've done it twice, there should be a checklist or should be a procedure, you know, if we're going to do it again, that is.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, gets it out of your head, which is there's not enough room in there. No.
So true.
So talking about PR for Mustard Made, so you've had so much amazing media coverage over the years, and I feel like that's something that you had early on in business as well. How important has that been for you and the development of the brand and brand awareness? And do you have any tips? How did you go about it? Have you outsourced your PR? Please help the makers that would love to know how to score an awesome feature.
Yeah, I think, I touched on storytelling before, and that for me is something that I just really naturally enjoy. So that's kind of been an area of the business that I've enjoyed working on. Last year, we hired someone who focuses on PR and communications within Mustard. And for us, like, we found that having people in-house has been it's just kind of faster, and we know we know that we're executing in a way that we want to that way. But then she also works with 2 PR agencies, one in the UK and one in the US. So it's kind of, we've got in-house and external as well, which, I think that's kind of allowed us to spread quite broadly around the world, while still maintaining that kind of same consistency, which is a big word for me as well, is kind of keeping things consistent. I think in terms of getting exposure early on, attending things like Finders Keepers or trade shows, we also use Pressloft and Flaunter, which are 2 online PR services. So you can put your photos up, and then the press can come and download them, and maybe they're searching for a particular theme, like it could be Mother's Day, and they will search for related projects and then maybe use your photograph. So that's a really kind of, I don't know, it's something that just keeps ticking over. I wouldn't say it's necessarily been the big things, the massive features that have come out of that, but certainly some nice relationships that then we've kind of grown after that. Then I think it's just a lot about having really great imagery and something to say, and asking, if you recently, Nikki, who does our PR, she asked Shopify, do they have any PR opportunities? And off the back of that, we've had a bunch of amazing articles. And it was just that question, this is what we've got to offer, this is our story, does that work for you? And lo and behold, it really did. And some great features have popped up. So I think it's having the guts to kind of own your story, show it off to the world, and see what happens.
Oh, that's so true. And you've got for those of you who are watching the video, make sure you do have a look through the blog on the Mustard Made website. Becca and Jess are very generous in the details that they share about their story and about the struggles and the challenges that they face as business owners. And it makes for very interesting and very informative reading, especially for makers in business. And getting back to the growth that you've experienced as well, you now have stockists all over the planet. I mean, in the sort of short time that you've been in business, you've really grown kind of exponentially and continue to do so, and it's very impressive, and congratulations on that front. There was one piece of advice, or a key piece of advice, that you would give emerging designers about setting up for wholesale. What would it be?
I think that it's really important to make it work for you and your business. You can go and ask other people how they do it, but every business will have its unique supply chains or challenges, or you might have your own capacity. Like, there's no point doing something for 50% margin if you're going to make nothing from it. And exposure is lovely, but that doesn't pay the bills, as everyone knows. So I think, along the way, we've kind of done things a little bit differently. Like, maybe our minimum orders might be a bit different to what other stockists might do, or the way that we actually get our stockists to log in and place their own orders in our system so we don't ask them, they don't necessarily hold stock. It's more of a drop shipping method that we use, so that in a large majority for our stockists. So, you know, some of them are like, no, we don't do that. And we're like, well, this is how we work and we need to work this way. And, you know, people do kind of come around. So I think you have to really think about, sometimes it can be quite flattering. You know, you might get asked by a certain stockist or something, you might get excited by that opportunity. But if it just doesn't work financially or practically, or you're going to be spending too much time chasing invoices, there's just no point. So I think on that as well, like automating as much as you can. You don't want to be kind of chasing small amounts of money every month. So yeah, how do you make something that is scalable? And then the other thing I was thinking about was just that sometimes, you know, we have in mind the perfect stockists. And from our experience, we've definitely had some of those and we've ticked them, you know, off, and we've got those stockists and it's been amazing. But sometimes it was the ones that we didn't expect to go really well, or we weren't that sure about from the start, that have turned out to be amazing relationships and really strong ambassadors of our products. And I think that was just a bit of a lesson along our journey, that sometimes you can be really picky and, you know, you might say no to opportunities that you don't think are as good, but they turn out to be even better.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you've touched on there really beautifully, Becca, is that the relationship side of things. I think we can get focused on it being, you know, a wholesale customer as opposed to a business relationship that we're having, you know, with these people who are, you know, helping us in many ways as we are helping them. You know, it works both ways, and I think that's great advice that you've touched on there.
They're Definitely. Also very busy, you know, so I think anything that you can do to make their lives easier, you know, they don't necessarily have time for the things that you want them to do. So can you send them swatches, or, you know, just building the relationships, like we often send out a little Valentine's chocolate bar or something cute like that, just, you know, just kind of checking in with them. And yeah, we've definitely built some really strong friendships as well as business relationships over the years, and those are the people that are selling your product. You know, would you hire them to sell your product? Like, are these the people that you want to be representing your brand? I think are good sort of questions to ask, and what can you do to facilitate that? Like, what would you be saying at Finders Keepers or a trade show that they maybe don't know or they don't have, you know, access to? So supplying them with lots of imagery and kind of regular updates and all of those things. It's just like our job is to make it as easy as possible for them to sell our products.
And to come back as well for more, which, you know, that's all part of that too. Becca, we really, really appreciate you sharing your experience and knowledge with us today. This has just been jam-packed full of inspiration, but also really great takeaways as well. So thank you so much. We're both really looking forward to seeing what's next on that About page timeline, and we are going to wish both you and Jess and the whole team of Mustard Made the very best of success.
Hi.
Thanks, Becca. Bye.